House to Home, brought to you by Remax Diamond Realty.
Half a day, everybody. Jason Salas here, and we are talking about real estate as we do each and every week. We are talking about zoning. This is my zone right over here. Let's change camera angles so we can see the zone where Gina and Liz are sitting reversed today.
For a second, I thought you were doing the Madonna move.
Oh, the Vogue.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Vogue and zone, you know.
Yeah, you got me mixed
and I was
up.
probably doing it very, very poorly, but thank you for pointing that out. You know?
Yeah,
Thank you for bringing 1992 back.
Yeah. Shows our age.
Yeah, okay, so speaking of zones and voguing, I've always had a question. If a piece of land, Gina, is returned to somebody, inherited, unclaimed, or, you know, is it by default, would that be considered, because there's residential, commercial, and agricultural. By default, would it be agricultural if it's undeveloped?
No, not necessarily. Your zoning, most of the properties here already have a zoning designation based on the zoning maps of Guam. So if you've got a piece of property that you just inherited, just got returned to you.
There's Tangantongan and Sakati all over the place.
Yeah. And you don't know what the zoning is. You can go to land management, give them a copy of the map, and they can verify the zoning for you. In fact, that's what we do when we get properties to sell. I always make it a point of not taking it for granted that the owner knows what their zoning is. We've had a lot of mistakes over the years where people come in, they give us their map, and it'll say -R1 or -R2, and
they
assume that means that's what their zoning is.
And it doesn't.
Okay, so Liz, am I correct to say that most of Guam has been mapped and has been zoned already at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what we do is if someone comes in and says our property is zone R1, because it has the R1 in their lot number, that's incorrect. That just means remainder one, that the property was subdivided, and that happened to be the remaining piece of the property, so they put R1. Now, your zone you could go to land management or public works and get a certification that it's zone, whatever that zone is. There is an aerial that the government has that we usually refer to, and it'll state the size, it'll state what the current taxes are with that particular property. That was done in 2015. And then it'll also state a zone. We don't even rely on that because a vendor was uploading all that information. And we have found that the zoning that they've reflected sometimes is incorrect. So we would have to go to the government entity to verify what that zone is, because it's critical. That zone will determine what can you put on that property. Commercial, of course, are commercial buildings, and they have different lot lines for that particular property. And agricultural, you're limited to certain things. So each zone has limitations as to what you can place on that particular zone property.
Right. So Gina, what if I wanted to say, like, I own land and I've built like a very simple house, and I say, you know what, I'm going to tear it down, I'm going to set up a farm. How would I go about actually changing that zoning from residential to agricultural, or maybe to commercial if I wanted to farm for, you know, for profit?
Well, oh, so you want to farm for profit?
Yeah. That's kind of the weird area, but let's just say agricultural. What if I want to turn it into a farm for my own use?
Agricultural, you can farm agricultural property.
Yeah. How do
you
I go
can
about
actually farm residential property.
Okay, so I don't need to.
You don't need to change the use. It's more the other way around. Could you build an apartment building on agricultural zone? No, that's where the requirements come in. That's where the zoning regulation starts mandating what you can do based on your zoning.
Okay, now I'm paranoid, and I'm very glass is half empty. I'm very pessimistic. Liz, if I didn't officially get it rezoned, could I get in trouble for that? Like if I started, you know, if I actually put up a apartment complex in the middle of my farm?
You probably would not be able to get a building permit. So if it's zone agricultural and you went through the government process, let's say you bought it with the intent, an A zone property with the intent to put up an apartment building, it's not the correct zoning for your use. And if you went to the different government entities to get permits, and they will deny your permitting process if you're building an apartment building. Because remember, apartment buildings would require the sewer. You would require So it's dense in terms of the use of that property. So the government will make sure all these different items are in place.
The water meters and the parking and all that stuff. Okay.
And even your size of your water line and the pressure. Because if, let's say, your neighborhood water pressure is low, then what would happen is they'll require that you put in a 6-inch water line.
Okay.
So there's a number of requirements, but don't buy your property. I mean, call us to get information as to the use of a particular zone, so we could guide you in the process.
And how can people contact you? Because certainly, you know, this isn't just a let's go have a cup of coffee for 5 minutes and go over it. This is a very complex issue with a lot of information.
It's complex in that it involves not only the building code, but it also involves government agencies. The building code is one thing, the government agencies require something different based on the zoning, EPA gets involved. So yeah, it's complicated. This show isn't going to do it. You'd have to call to get more information.
Well, I appreciate you guys being on the show. So what number can they call? Can people call you?
They can call Liz at 687-0911, and my number is 687-8885.
I love the way you guys pick your phone numbers. It's so easy to remember. Oh,
Yeah,
thank
exactly.
you. Okay, I'm going to go talk to them more about zoning because this is absolutely fascinating. But stay tuned. We're back after this.